All right, we're back again with more of the casual gaming news. This week, a lot of stuff, but we're gonna get through it. Not too many big stories. There's a few, but not too many. Last week was pretty thick. This week is also pretty thick. Next week, we'll see what happens. But let's just get this ball rolling, going through all the layoffs and closures and stuff. Let's start with Hi-Rez. In the wrong tab. So this is Carver Fisher Dexerto. So Smite and Paladins dead as Hi-Rez lays off dozens of employees. So there was a bunch of layoffs at Hi-Rez, which their only two real games were or are Smite and Paladins, which now, because of this, there's no more support for them. There's going to be no more work on them. So as a result of mass layoffs affecting several parts of Hi-Rez Studios and subsidiary companies, Titan Forge, Riley Here, and Evil Mojo Games, development on both Paladins and Smite has completely ceased. While these titles will still be alive for the foreseeable future and they're keeping servers up, both games will no longer receive any content updates, even including minor bug fixes. Both games won't be touched by developers ever again and are, for all intents and purposes, dead. So with Hi-Rez having shut down a number of games over the past decade, from Rogue Company, which was a lot of fun. We played a decent amount of Rogue Company when it was new. That was a pretty fun game until they started unbalancing things with some of the characters. And Prophecy to Divine Knockout and Realm Royale, many of their big bets in the multiplayer space haven't paid off, even if they showed promise. But Smite and Paladins were the two main games the company was known for. These live service multiplayer games held a dedicated enough player base to keep the company afloat and relevant, even in highly competitive multiplayer market. So I think there was no company statement or anything, but that sucks. A lot of people liked Paladins, a lot of people liked Smite, both pretty good games. I tried a little bit of Smite and a little bit of Paladin. I tried a little bit of both and they were fine, but it sucks because these are games that people were playing. Not a lot of people, but people were playing them for sure. Next up, we've got Netflix laying people off in their games division. Chris Scully and VGC. So Netflix has reportedly laid off multiple workers at Oxenfree developer Night School Studio. And it was the first studio that was acquired by Netflix when they were acquiring things. This, again, similar thing where just everyone in the world is just laying people off, but it's so odd with the Netflix one specifically because they've been really pushing that they want to get more into the games industry. They did all those interactive story things that almost all of them got removed. I think it was only 4 were left. Yeah, 20 of its 24 interactive specials were removed by December 1st. And they shut down another studio, Team Blue. That's right, they shut down Team Blue. So it's so weird that they keep doing things like this even though they want to be in the space so bad. So they don't really have much left. And they're saying that they still want to be. Yeah, despite these actions, Netflix still appears to be committed to including games as part of its service. In December 2024, it released mobile title Squid Game Unleashed, and it recently announced plans to bring WWE 2K series to mobile as a Netflix exclusive. Again, this is mobile stuff too. It's not anything to do with the regular app. But yeah, it was 4 of the bigger ones. It was the Kimmy Schmidt one. It was the Black Mirror one, and then 2 other ones, 4 of their big ones, and then a bunch of the other ones that no one really, I guess, interacted with. But it sucks, and it just keeps going. Liquid Swords. Love when it opens on the wrong monitor. So Avalanche Founders' new studio makes layoffs, but will continue to work on the new IP that they've been working on. This is Tom Ivan, BGC, if it wants to copy. So Liquid Swords cuts jobs to ensure the studio's long-term sustainability. Same shit that people have been saying. So this is their post that they made. Message from Liquid Swords founder Christopher Sundberg. When I founded Liquid Swords in 2020, my goal was to build a studio that redefined game development, a place driven by expertise, creativity, and sustainable work model. I'm incredibly proud of what we've built, but the realities of the industry today have forced us to adjust our path. We are in a deeply regrettable position with no choice but to begin the formal process of parting ways with some of our talented team members. This is in no regard a reflection of their skill, dedication, or work we've accomplished together. We are supporting all employees through this transition, working with unions, and reaching out to industry partners to help those affected find new opportunities. Again, everyone's laying people off. No one's hiring. It doesn't make any sense. Every company's laying people off. What do you mean you're working with them to find new opportunities? So while we navigate these challenges, Look ahead to the same ambition and creative drive that's built the studio. Our remaining team will continue to develop of #Game1 as we move forward, and we will explore new opportunities and strengthen and ensure our long-term success. So they still haven't even released a game yet. They're still working on the one game. Established 2020. Previously, the founder, owner, and creative director at Avalanche, which they did Just Cause. Planning to grow to a 100 strong team in 2023, and now they're doing cuts. They're working on a debut project, a connected single-player action RPG, and a hard-boiled take on the open-world crime genre. So these guys didn't even get to put anything out before they got sent home. That sucks. All of this just sucks, and it keeps getting more suck. Let's go to the big one, and there's a follow-up to this. Andy Robinson VGC. The big story the past few days / week is the US team for Marvel Rivals has been laid off. And again, Marvel Rivals, very big success. Some would say the only live service game in the last couple of years to actually like release and sustain a following, right? It's only been like 2 or 3 months. So it was confirmed by people that worked there that they got laid off. So although Marvel Rivals does not have staff credits, it's understood that the game was developed by teams in China and Seattle. According to Sasser's LinkedIn, the Seattle team specialized in game and level design. Marvel Rivals' most senior developer appears to be creative director, I can't see the name, who often appears in developers' diaries published by NetEase. The surprise layoffs follow what appears to have been a hugely successful launch for the hero shooter. Since its debut in December, Marvel Rivals has enjoyed consistently high player numbers on Steam. And then they go into the numbers of players. So commenting on the news, a Bungie employee claimed they heard the layoffs were part of a broad decision by NetEase to pull out of North America. Because last month it was confirmed NetEase had split from Vancouver-based Worlds Untold. The studio founded with Mass Effect writer Mac Walters in 2023, as well as Seattle-based Jar of Sparks, the studio founded in 2022 by Xbox veteran Jerry Hook. So, cinematic director John Ebinger. The only insight I can possibly add is that I'd heard NetEase is pulling all investments out of North America. Started last year. Are these layoffs all the North America design team? If so, then it appears no. It doesn't matter how successful your game is. Corporate policy created by geopolitics and trade relationships do. So they're attributing it to geopolitical stuff as opposed to success rate of the game, which kind of makes more sense. But then NetEase did make a statement saying that they recently made a difficult decision to adjust Marvel Rivals' development team structure for organizational reasons and to optimize development efficiency for the game. This resulted in a reduction of a design team based in Seattle that is part of a larger global design function in support of Marvel Rivals. We appreciate the hard work and dedication of those affected, and we will be treating them confidentially and respectfully with recognition for the individual contributions. This is kind of wild. Again, the game is so successful. Like we play it pretty consistently now, overall. But the director and all of the entire team in North America has been laid off. Who knows what's gonna happen now? We're in wild times. All right, that should be about it, I think, for this category of news. But I don't remember what's in the bottom of the list. So just an update on Marvel Rival numbers. This is Jordan Midler, VGC. The Marvel Rivals has passed 40 million players as NetEase reports net revenue of 2.9 billion. 2.9 billion, and they cut the US team, or the North American team. 40 million players. So it was announced during NetEase's financial results on Thursday. The company said the hero shooter topped Steam's global top seller charts in December and saw 10 million registered users in its opening 3 days across all platforms. It returned top of the chart in January following the game Season 1 update. Announced that the game and related service net revenues were around $2.9 billion for the 3 months ending in December, an increase of 1.5% compared with the same quarter of 2023. 1.5% of 2.9 billion, that's a decent amount of money. So again, they're just no one can stop talking about how good this game is doing, but they're laying people off. It's such a toxic industry right now. It's so insanely toxic. I hate it. Because it's all the workers that we never hear about that suffer the most about from this. So we're going to move to another pretty big story. Pokemon Go supposedly selling to a Saudi-owned firm. So it's a Niantic thing. This is Jordan Midler, BGC. So Pokemon Go Monster Hunter now could soon be operated by the Saudi-backed Savvy Games Group. It's reported that the deal, which could reach 3.5 billion, may close in the coming weeks, but it's also said there's currently no assurance an agreement will be reached. Niantic's main gaming asset, Pokemon Go, will be included in the deal. The game, which is one of the most successful mobile titles of all time, allows, Pokemon Go, we know what it is. It's unclear how such a sale would impact the company's licensing rights with both the Pokemon Company and Capcom, but Bloomberg claims its gaming titles would be included in the deal rather than just the team behind them. So this is a wild proposition. This is a pretty wild proposition. It doesn't say what other games Saudi Arabia did reduce its stake in Nintendo. Scopely is a mobile gaming firm that was acquired in 2023 by the Savvy Games Group for just shy of $5 billion. Savvy Games is one arm of the Saudi Public Investment Fund, which they're trying to like diversify their investments and not just like oil, which is why they've been going into the gaming industry. They've been going into sports. They're going everywhere. They're going everywhere. So it's going to be interesting to see. I really kind of hope this doesn't happen, just because like what would be the point? Honestly, everything's going fine for both of these games. I don't know. It's a weird, the only reason would be because they want more money, right? Last of the bigger news stories, seems that Microsoft is developing an AI tool to revive older Xbox games. So, AI, kind of a buzzword right now. Everyone's getting into it, or has already gotten into it. A little bit too much for me. A little bit too much AI going on in general, especially, on the art side of things, is Andy Robinson, VGC. But this one is, I'd have to look a little bit deeper into this one. So what they're doing is they're developing an AI tool that generates stuff in the game, but it's for games that aren't compatible with modern systems, and basically to make them compatible, something like that. It's called Muse. So it's a generative AI model that it says can generate game visuals, controller actions, or both. It can generate video game visuals using training data from Ninja Theory's 2020 game Bleeding Edge. However, it also discussed how Muse could help preserve classic games for the future. Let me see, what else did it say? New team dedicated to game preservation last year. So today, countless classic games tied to aging hardware are no longer playable by most people. Thanks to this breakthrough, we are exploring the potential for Muse to take older back catalog games from our studios and optimize them for any device. We believe this could radically change how we preserve and experience classic games in the future and make them accessible to more players. To imagine that beloved games lost to time and hardware advancement could one day be played on any screen with Xbox is an exciting possibility. So this is, the idea of this is pretty cool. They're not like creating anything new. They're just basically using AI to make older games backwards compatible, which is like, I would say a decently okay use of AI in general, because instead of spending the money or the resources to make older games backwards compatible, they can use that to help the more modern games and the stuff that they're working on currently. I'm sure there's tons of people out there already doing this stuff though, which is wild. So I don't know. We'll see how this goes, because it's going to have to be a lot of testing. I'm sure the AI is going to just completely break tons of games. We'll see. Okay. Smaller news topics. Let's get rid of some of these tabs. So an update on a couple games that have been in development for forever. Development hell, you could say. Sony's PS5 live service title Fair Games or something has reportedly slipped. Hi Lopez, Pirate Yakuza game came out. Everyone go play it. This is Andy Robinson, VGC. So this Fair Games, this is the like robbery heist game. So it's according to Giant Bomb journalist Jeff Grubb, who claimed in a podcast this week that the co-op heist shooter, first announced nearly 2 years ago, has been internally delayed to 2026. Announced in 2023 with no release window, Fair Games is described by its creators as a fresh, modern take on the heist game, or the heist genre. The PS5 and PC game is the debut title from Haven Studios, the Canadian firm which was co-founded by Assassin's Creed co-creator Jade Raymond. It was acquired by Sony Interactive in 2022. In a nutshell, this is a thrilling competitive heist game where you join an underground movement to rob the ultra-rich and rebalance the scales. So this was softly set to come out this year and has been secretly or unverified, unconfirmed, delayed to 2026, which is another thing. It's a Sony game, it's a PlayStation game, so who knows what could happen to this. Similar vein, kind of, Everwild, which has been in development for like a decade or something, they said, Andy Robinson, VGC. So direct from Phil Spencer, he says that they're still kicking. They're still working on it, and it's going to come out, and he's excited about it. 3 years after its last reveal, the last time it was showcased. So the first announced the IP in November 2019 and released another trailer in 2020. But updates on the game since then have been elusive. But it's saying because the first announcement was in 2019, they've been working on it for a while already. So back in 2021, VGC sources with knowledge of Everwild's development claimed that the game's design had essentially been restarted from scratch, and it would likely be several years before release. So in 2021, they started over basically, which is nuts. Optimistically targeting 2024, clearly it's still not out. I don't know if anyone remembers what Everwild is, but I'll pull up the trailer real fast. So this was Everwild. I think this is the last teaser for it that came out.
In the bonds we share.
Looks pretty cool. Don't know what it is,
And to stand our world has a
but looks cool. We'll see if it comes out. Who knows? So let's move on to the state of play, which we talked about last time. It was the most concurrent viewers ever for that state of play. Chris Scully, VGC. Not too much going on here in the story, just like it was the biggest state of play ever. 2 million players were watching Sony's latest, and it's across all official and co-streams, I think is what it said. Last week's State of Play was the first time more than 1,000 YouTube Live and Twitch channels co-streamed the State of Play, many of whom were streamers reacting to it live. A peak of 656,000 concurrent viewers across all the streams. Peak viewer count 2.18 million. It's the first time the State of Play has ever broken the 2 million mark. Wild. I mean, it was a good State of Play. We didn't watch it live, but we went over it. Liked it a lot. Next up, a Rainbow Six Siege update. Chris Scully, VGC. There was a teaser for what is going to be called Rainbow Six Siege X, a new era for the game at a showcase. So there's going to be a showcase next month, March 13th, 10 a.m. Mark your calendars. Rainbow Six Siege X. I know a certain Whoa who's going to love to see this. I can't wait. I really want to see what it's going to be about. The teaser's really like nothing here. It's just a big old X at the end of the hallway. I hope it has nothing to do with a certain person that renamed a certain website to X. I want to see it. March 13th, 10 a.m. Pacific time, 1 p.m. Eastern. Next up, Nintendo's ending its gold points system. Gold coins, whatever it is. Chris Culling, VGC. Players will no longer be able to earn gold points when buying games on the Switch shop. Where's the date? March 25th. March 25th, you will not be able to earn anymore, but you can still use current stuff or stuff that you accumulate until then for, I think it's about a year. Yeah, 12 months. They're valid for 12 months after they were earned. I think Platinum will still be there. Platinum points will continue, but the gold points will end. I hope they replace it with something because, I mean, it's cool every once in a while to be able to like knock a couple dollars off a Nintendo game because they never go on sale or anything. So it's pretty cool when that happens. So hopefully they do something else and not just not have a point system at all, because that's kind of lame. Next up, we got another interview with Shuhei Yoshida. He was talking about reasons why the Japan studio closed, saying that just like the way games were being made was evolving so fast. Jordan Miller, VGC. What did he say? This was a Sacred Symbols podcast. Sacred Symbols podcast. So when asked about the closure of PlayStation's Japan studio and fan perception about PlayStation losing its Japanese influence, Yoshida claimed that it was the market that dictated Sony's shift in focus away from Japan Studios' IP. He said, during my time, people give me credit, but one of the things I was not successful at was having a successful service game. The other things I was not able to have amazingly successful games made in Japan. Other than Gran Turismo, we had many great products, but didn't really have many AAA successful products. That became more and more important as the big games became bigger. The indies filled the gap, and the AA market seems to have disappeared. Most of the IPs that Japan Studios had were in the smaller AA size groups, and the market became really difficult for these kinds of games. For example, after Gravity Rush 2, The director tried to come up with a new concept, but we were not able to greenlight any of his new concepts, even though they were really interesting. So there's a stark gap between indie and AAA right now, which the AA used to be. He talked about the Patapon game, spiritual sequel to Ratatan, whatever it is. But yeah, you can just see there's really no like AA games that come out anymore, ever. And it seems like if they do, the studio gets shut down. So more in this interview, he talks about the Souls games. This Jordan Miller VGC, but same interview with Shuhei Yoshida, I believe. He was asked why Sony didn't publish the Souls games directly, and he's saying that they botched the release of Demon Souls, which was the first game that they released. Although these days Demon Souls is considered the first entry in From Software's popular Souls-like series of games, it's said that at the time Sony couldn't see the game's global appeal. Due to the game's high difficulty and negative early playtests, Sony decided not to localize Demon Souls for an English language release. Instead, in the US, the game was published by Atlas, and in Europe, published by Bandai Namco. He said, From Software was already working on the sequel, but they were so disappointed with how PlayStation treated them, we wanted to work with them again, but they passed on it. We have huge respect for Miyazaki, and we were able to work with them again. Bloodborne is one of his best games. Yes. They didn't initially release Demon Souls for the US because they said, nah, they can't handle a game like this. It's just like that Mario 2 thing again. But they eventually, I guess, saw some success in the Souls games, so decided to go that route eventually. Which is fine. We're in the times where you could play Souls games on anything, which is awesome. All right, moving on to chat picks. There's a decent amount of chat picks because we're catching up. So there's a few things about Dragon Age. So they had their final major update. This is Eurogamer. This is Tom Phillips, Eurogamer. So they had their final major update, which wasn't even a major update. I think it was mostly bug fixes and stuff. So BioWare appears to have bid farewell to any further updates for Dragon Age: The Veilguard following the launch of this week of the game's patch 5. So there's patch notes. They say that happening in the game is a stable place to move to monitoring for any reports of game-breaking bugs should these occur. Patch notes finish with Dareth Shiral, meaning farewell or safe journey in the game's Elvish language. Really sounds like this is it. But I think the patch notes said that it was just, instead patch 5 contains a number of small bug fixes and one final quality of life change. Recommended levels have been added to side quests that players may receive at significantly lower levels. Sad stuff. Again, everything I've seen from this game looks fun and looks good. But it just wasn't good enough, which is insane. Going off of this, in development, it was supposed to be a $1 billion franchise. This is Rhiannon Bevan. I don't know how to say his name properly, and that is my apologies. On The Gamer, so it's reported that during development they wanted to be a $1 billion franchise. This is a former lead. And what were they talking about? They were talking about former executive producer at BioWare, Mark Dara, has uploaded a lengthy video detailing his more than 2 decades at the studio. Here he explains that EA wanted Dragon Age to be a $1 billion franchise, and he was tasked with drafting a plan to make that happen. But he admits that even in theory, he was not able to imagine the series pulling in that much revenue. However, he does say that his plans brought the franchise closer than you would think and involved getting new Dragon Age games out the door quickly. I think what happened here was they had originally planned for 3 different games to come out. It was like 1 main title and then 2 smaller titles quickly after. Instead of doing multiple DLCs, they wanted to do like maybe 1 small expansion and then move on from there in the next couple years to 2 other games in the franchise to get it like within range of that $1 billion. But it went through such development hell again, being pushed for live service and stuff like that, that it ended up being like the whole idea, like the whole story and idea for it was completely scrapped and changed to what it is. Did it get Dragon Age to a $1 billion franchise? It required a little bit of creative accounting to make that work, but it got closer than you would think. The idea was to have minimal DLC, maybe 1 significantly sized piece of DLC or even an expansion pack, and quickly move on to the sequel. However, this wasn't meant to be. After Andromeda wrapped, the Mass Effect Andromeda, resources were swallowed up by Anthem. Then it was decided that Dragon Age 4 should be a live service, so Joplin, which is a codename for one of the other games, was swapped for a new version of the game, codenamed Morrison. This too was eventually be canned, and Dragon Age: The Veilguard was built from the ashes. So it's why they went through so many cycles and restarts And then they're like, nah, we don't like it. I wonder what would have happened if they went with the original idea. Another follow-up to this, basically EA CEO talking about it. So the Veilguard failed to resonate with a broad audience. Gamers increasingly want shared world features. It's EA CEO Andrew Wilson basically saying the game just wasn't good enough, and that gamers want more stuff that's connected and live service. So Wilson, at an investor-focused financial call, Wilson suggested its role-playing games need to have shared world features and deeper engagement alongside high-quality narratives. In order to break out beyond the core audience, games need to directly connect to the evolving demands of players who increasingly seek shared world features and deeper engagement alongside high-quality narratives in this beloved category. Dragon Age had a high-quality launch and was well-reviewed by critics and those who played. However, it did not resonate with a broad enough audience in this highly competitive market, which is very different from what one of the lead directors or whatever from over here was saying about it. This is Wesley Impel, IGN, by the way. But there was something else. Okay, so, and then it goes on. Fans are already saying that EA has learned the wrong lessons from Dragon Age and are pointing to the enormous success of single-player only RPGs that have been released recently, including Larian's all-conquering Baldur's Gate 3. Either way, it seems Dragon Age is now dead, at least for the foreseeable future. But what does that mean for Mass Effect 5? I don't think anything's being affected by that, but I think that team did get downsized or something lately. Historically, blockbuster storytelling has been the primary way our industry brought beloved IP to players. Canfield said, who's fucking EA CFO Stuart Canfield? Gabe's financial performance highlights the evolving industry landscape and reinforces the importance of our actions to reallocate resources towards our most significant and highest potential opportunities. That's when they were, like we talked about last week, BioWare shifting people around and stuff. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about with what makes a good game, because if they did, then game would be good, right? Game would be good, game would be great. And in this case, game was fine. And still they're like, nah, it's not $1 billion. Huh? Two very conflicting sides of the tale of Dragon Age the Veilguard. It's such a shame. It's such a shame. Next up, there's a designer for Starfield that's saying, hey, gamers want shorter games. And Starfield, very big game. So it's really funny this coming from someone who worked on a big game saying, hey, shorter games. Andy Chalk, PC Gamer. People are becoming fatigued with 100-hour monsters. And he says, oh, I'm sorry being part of the problem. So he goes on to say things like, in the olden days, it was MMOs that people were sinking their, like, if they wanted to spend hundreds of hours in a game, it was these MMOs that people were doing, like Warcraft, Final Fantasy, and stuff like that. But these days, like, games are, you could play something like Fallout for forever. You could play, like, especially Fallout, because there's no, like, you could just explore the world to your leisure and find new things all the time. Starfield, games like that. And people don't want that anymore. Especially fucking thick-ass Assassin's Creed games. But they think that there's statistics somewhere that people play like less than 10 hours of a game before moving on, something like that. And most games in the teens of hours to complete are the ones that are being finished. It's all stuff that like we kind of knew about already, that people don't want thick, big old games anymore. Another Nintendo story. Hey, they lost a trademark fight. Nintendo loses the trademark fight because they one of the specific category of trademarks fell through the cracks. This is Tom Phillips, Eurogamer. So a supermarket in Costa Rica won the battle to name their store Super Mario. Which is wild. It's so funny. Nintendo did lose this because I think they've had the rights to this for a while now. 2013 they've had the rights. It came to renew. Nintendo was like, no, we don't like that. But they won it in the court battle because they said the dude who owns it, his name is Mario. He runs a supermarket. None of their marketing looks or is anything related to Nintendo stuff. So they're like, yeah, you don't have the rights to it. They do. They get to use it. Super Mario is here to stay. That's so awesome. Get fucked, Nintendo. But put your games on sale. Next up, there was a veteran Zelda developer who had several Zelda games ruined for him. This is Games Radar. This is Ian Harris. So this developer, Takaya Imamura, was like one of the big names, especially in the like late stage developing of some of these games. But there was A Link to the Past and another game. What was it? There was another game. I don't know if they named the other game, but he said there was a couple games where he was excited for them to get released because he wanted to play them as a fan and not have worked on it and like be fresh. But towards the end, they asked him to come in and help with the QA process. He said, to tell the truth, when I was asked to help out on the Zelda team, I wasn't too pleased about it. I didn't really want to, and the reason was because I wanted to enjoy the game when it was finished as a player. I can remember that feeling even now. I also remember that the debugging, the QA was really tough. Having to do the same thing over and over again, I still really don't want to play that game. The testing was that difficult. Even now, if I just jump into the game for a minute or so, the feeling comes back. It's like PTSD or something. So you can't even play A Link to the Past. So these games are getting ruined. That's wild, and that's so lame. And I hope he got to play. It doesn't say, but I hope he got to play the more modern ones without any issues. Next up is a story that like we've heard about for years now. Timuli's trying to get into the Sleeping Dogs live action stuff. It is, I think, unofficially verified that it's happening. He was working on the rights. Yeah, he's been screaming about this, which is like rightfully so. This is a good franchise for him to try to get into. This is Wesley and Poole. Hi Jen. I don't know if I said it. This game came out in 2012. He's I think trying to be producer and the lead. Yeah, Donnie Yen with the original casting option, which Donnie Yen's fucking awesome. So he would be cool as well if he's in the series. But I think it was like an unofficial verified story that it's greenlit. Next up, let's go with a quick one. Valve is reinforcing its rules on advertisements in games, or forced advertisements in games. It's a rule that they've had for a while, but they've, I think, just like redid the wordage or something. The newly re-emphasized rules from Valve, first reported by Gaming on Linux, confirmed that whilst cross-promotion and product placement are permitted, games that force players to watch or engage with advertising in order to play are not. Nor should developers use advertising as a way to provide value to players, such as giving players a reward for watching or engaging with advertising in their game, which you see happen a lot in mobile stuff, I think. This is Vicky Blake, by the way, Eurogamer. That's good. More warnings on stuff like that, on shitty practices. Hell yeah. Let's go with Roblox being investigated for something. We don't know what. I don't think we know what, but Roblox is being investigated for something by the U.S. Security and Exchange Commission. This is Vicky Blake, Eurogamer. Love it. Investigation is ongoing. The exact focus of the SEC's probing remains unclear. But they did, however, acknowledge the investigation was active and it could not currently share full details to ensure there was no harm to the ongoing enforcement proceedings. So we don't know what it is, but there was something that it was something earlier. Yes. Reports suggest, though it's not confirmed, that the investigation may pertain to November's report that Roblox misled investors by falsely reporting player numbers, and has highlighted yet more examples of inappropriate and allegedly illegal content being shared via the platform, a platform being used for the most part by children. So yeah, find out what the fuck's going on. Do it. Got a couple more here. Next, the last one on my prepared list, then we have a couple more that came out in the last day or so. The next Diablo 4, the next Deebs expansion has been delayed a year, even though they did say that they wanted, again, it's only February, and the plan was to have something out this year, 2025, but it's been delayed. This is Andy Chalk, PC Gamer. DICE in Las Vegas, so it was at DICE. While talking about the successes and misses of Diablo 4's launch and subsequent updates and seasons, Ferguson said it was important for developers to share roadmaps of their future plans, noting that a Diablo 4 roadmap for 2025 is on the way. Now, our second expansion won't be in the roadmap because our second expansion is going to be in 26. The initial plan was to give Diablo 4 yearly expansions, a schedule Ferguson revealed in a 2023 discussion about the game's live service operation. When you look at the launch of the game in its first season, we see that as building a foundation on which we can build for the future. So as we look at our quarterly seasons, we look at our annual expansions, those are the things we really focus for our live service. It's fine. Oh, well, there's plenty to do in Deebs. We'll wait. And again, we literally just paid for that last expansion. I'm fine waiting a year for the next time I have to put money into Deebs. All right, that's it for what I have prepared. Going to the stuff that's more recent. So there's a Pokemon Presents coming next week. The stream will include information about upcoming video game projects as well as other news. Air on February 27th at 2 p.m. UTC. I don't know what that is, but 9 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Pacific. It's next Thursday, the 27th. What a great time. 9 a.m. Eastern is nuts. So hopefully we see more from Pokemon ZA, Pokemon Pizza. This is Jordan Midler, VGC, by the way. Oop. Next, Hades 2 developer says it won't recast anyone after striking voice actors say they may be replaced. So voice actor strike, hell yeah. But they're claiming that they're going to be replaced. This is Chris Scullion, VGC. But the developer says, no, we recast nobody. So Marin M. Miller, who voiced such Hades characters as Athena, Tisiphone, and Alecto, posted a message in Blue Sky saying there's a chance that they may be replaced in the sequel because of the ongoing SAG-AFTRA strike, which started last July after the actors union had failed to negotiate acceptable protections around the use of AI for its members. It's possible you may hear me get recast in a particular game that is very popular. If I am, it was not because I stepped away from the character willingly. It's because the employer refused to flip to an interim. They were referring to Supergiant. Supergiant has now responded with a statement on Blue Sky claiming its games have never been subject to SAG-AFTRA contracts and that it hasn't recast anyone in the game. We'll see if that stays like that. We have not recast any of our characters in Hades 2 and wish to keep working with each and every member of our wonderful cast. Again, they say that now. We'll see what happens. The game is still in, like, alpha stage for some reason. And the last story, a W for Nintendo. They won the suit against the Pocket Monster remake game that's been out for a while. It was for like $15 million or something like that. So this is Pocket Monster remake. They filed the lawsuit in 2021. I mean, come on now. And so this is the same Pokemon. Like they just use the same stuff. It's not like Pal World. This is literally just the same. This is just the same. Like it's just the same Pokemon. Different UI and stuff, but like the ball, like that's a Master Ball that they threw. That's just Charizard with an Ash hat. You know, they just literally just use the same stuff, saying that it's new or it's original. I mean, come on now. I don't even know what's going on here. I think that's just reskinned current Pokemon. So obviously they won that lawsuit, which is fair. That's fair. Don't do that. That's a bad thing to do. And just to check real quick, I don't think anything has happened in the last hour or so. KOTOR 1 and 2 free for mobile. Oh, just give me a remake. I don't care. But I think that's it. I think we did it. I think we finally caught up. Not as long as last time, obviously, but still pretty thick. I think we did a great job. We're gonna play some Poop Hunter with friends next. Check out the links in the chat. Stay updated with stuff. YouTube, Twitter, Discord, TikToks. Come here. Do chats. Do comments in the videos, in the VODs. This will probably go up again Monday, because tomorrow is a full day. Sunday's a full day. Monday's my first day off. My first free hours of time. So Monday will be uploaded, edited and uploaded on Monday. Unfortunately, I can't get it out any sooner. It's just not possible. So that's gonna be it, and I'll see you guys next time with more news.